I'm Kim from Fleece and Harmony Wool and Mill in Belfast, PEI. My business that I run with my sister as a partner, Jennifer, and my husband, Ken.
My wife and Jennifer, Kim's sister, we begin our day just by starting out and feeding the sheep. We start with the grain.
Yeah, so our animals get to eat before we do. So we typically go out, and chores take anywhere from half an hour to an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on the weather. If I typically look after the smaller groups, so I do the grain for the horses, which are pets, and I do the grain and the hay for the rabbits. So we have about 11 fiber rabbits on the farm because we also spin their fiber into yarn. We'll
Prepare the grain buckets. We usually do a supplement of rolled oats and soy meal. We actually prepare the hay. So basically, I'll go out with the ATV. We have a special machine that we use to haul the hay around the yard, which we had manufactured here on the island.
No one else on the island has the machine. Yeah.
So after we put all of the feed out and the hay in the feeders, Kim will try and open the gate without getting stampeded, and that's where the fun begins.
Come on, come on, come on, little one. This is the way that we get the wool. So obviously it's not the fluffy white stuff that you see when you're imagining what wool is. It looks like this. So we receive ungraded wool from farmers. When we get it, it sometimes has bits like this in it. So the cleaning process is probably the most complicated and important part of the whole thing, because it starts here. So we have the baskets, and we put them in this machine, which is the washing machine for the wool, and it's separated into segments. So Ken weighs out how much wool he puts in each segment so it's balanced. And this washer has really hot water, and we use a special soap that will help to dissolve or melt the lanolin that's in the wool, because we want to get that out. And it has a very slow agitation because wool will felt. If you use hot water and soap and a lot of agitation, you'd have a big ball coming out, a solid mass. So that's how that works. And this is what it looks like after it's been washed. So from what you saw a few minutes ago to this, it's already a big improvement, but it's not perfect. What we're aiming for is something that looks like this, and we still have a ways to go. So after it dries, it's put on this machine.
And this is called a dehairing machine. So what the dehairer does is basically going to be opening up the fibers a lot more. You're going to see a lot more vegetation come out, and it's basically going to look like a fine veil coming out the other end of the machine. You'll have a look. So once the fleece has gone through the dehairing machine, I just gather it all up here in this little bunch. And then the next process, we're going to go over to the carding machine. Basically, the carding machine is where the magic happens. We decide what type of fleece we'll be making, or what type of yarn and what fleece we'll be using. For instance, now we're doing a sock yarn, so we've already blended 20% mohair with 80% wool. So that gives, the mohair gives it the strength. And so this is our product called a sock yarn. So we basically just set up the machine with 70-gram feeds, and basically we're just going to let that run through, and I'm going to show you what happens here. So I'm going to start it up. So basically, once the carding is done, we'll bring all 12 containers over and we'll feed the machine into what they call the draw frame. And basically these two rovings are going through the rollers and basically coming out as one. So basically what it's doing, it's taking the two rovings and twisting it very gently into one. It's lining up the fibers, and again, we tell the computer how many yards per can that we want. So once all 12 cans are full, we'll take them, and this actually is complete now. So once the cans are filled, we'll stop the machine and take them over to the spinning machine.
And this is the spinner, and you can see all the cans in behind. So the fiber is all there waiting to be spun. And like Ken mentioned, the drafting process, the process of stretching the streams of fiber has already started at the draw frame, and now we do the real drafting and twisting of the fibers to make a strong ply, or the thread that you see coming down here. And this is a 12 bobbin spinner, so I have 12 bobbins set up, and all of the twisted fiber is coming down. So I'm just going to start this up. So we're going to use 3 bobbins because we're making a 3-ply yarn. And we just put them together. This to set up the machine. And then we're going to turn it on. And now this is twisting the yarn in the opposite direction that the spinner did, so that they wind around, each of the plies winds around the other, its neighbors. And it just runs like that until the bobbin is full. Okay, so we're going to come over to the cone winder. And we've already got cones started, so we're going to attach the bobbin that we just made. And we don't tie knots in the yarn. We use a splicer. So we fit this in here. Shoots air in. That basically felts the two threads together. We just give a little bit of a rub just to make sure it's smooth. And then we wind the yarn that we made onto these big cones. So on this cone we have 3,500 yards already on it, and this cone is actually finished and it had 3,600 yards. And that's the finished product, up to the point where Jennifer takes over. And Jennifer is the color expert.
I didn't realize, I had no experience with color theory or dyeing yarn or anything when we started this business, but I had an interest in it. So of course I went and I learned a few things, and then I just kind of dug in and started experimenting. So people have an idea the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, but it's very hard for the average person to imagine that actually all of these colors are just a combination of red, yellow, and blue in different concentrations. And then we name our colors based on island inspiration. So every one of our colors, when it's packaged in the store with the label on it, it's got a little story on it. So for example, I have a red that's called rhubarb, and it'll say rhubarb on the label, and it says, the first pie of the season here on Prince Edward Island. And so we try to just give people a little bit of the local flavor, because when we ship it off to Australia, they'll be like, oh, rhubarb. It's the first pie of the season in Prince Edward Island.